Welcome to today's program. I am Seneca County Historian Walter Gable. With this program, we launch the first in an occasional series of people with Finger Lakes roots. Many of these people went on to become rather famous, but have not received as much recognition locally as they justly deserve. This program deals with Marcus Whitman, who was born in what is today known as Rushville. Among other things, Marcus Whitman was the first graduate doctor of a medical school to practice medicine west of the Rocky Mountains. Marcus Whitman was born on September 4, 1802 in Federal Hollow, a very small settlement known today as Rushville. The website of the Whitman Mission National Historical Site described Rushville at that time as being quite primitive. Before he was 7, Marcus Whitman as a young lad was tending a carding machine, which was used to prepare wool for spinning into yarn. When Marcus was only 7, his father died, and he was sent to live with an uncle in Massachusetts, and this became a blessing. Marcus there received 5 years of education and a moral upbringing. As a teenager, Marcus was in Plainfield, Massachusetts, at a school taught by the congregational pastor shown here, the Reverend Moses Halleck. This was at the time of the Second Great Awakening, which was marked by many religious revivals throughout New England as well as here in upstate New York. Marcus Whitman had a religious conversion experience at this time, but he did not join a specific church. At the age of 18, Marcus returned to Rushville to live with his mother and stepfather. Marcus told his family that he wanted to study to become a minister, but the family said this was not possible, as they did not have the money for 4 years of college and then 3 years in a theological seminary. So Marcus started to work in his stepfather's tannery and shoe business. In 1823, however, Marcus began studying with the local doctor, apprenticing himself to that doctor for 2 years. This was the common way to begin your training and education to become a doctor at that time. In 1825, Marcus enrolled in the College of Physicians and Surgeons of the Western District of New York at Fairfield. After just 16 weeks, he was qualified for a license to practice medicine. He practiced medicine in Canada for 2.5 years and then returned to Rushville. He again thought of the ministry, so he entered preparatory study to become a minister. His ministry studies, however, were cut short by illness and were never completed. In October 1831, Marcus entered the College of Physicians and Surgeons, Fairfield again, and earned his full MD degree. Whitman settled in Wheeler, New York, in northern Steuben County. Wheeler is a small town, only 1,000 people in the 2000 census, and Whitman became an active member of the community. In 1832, he became a trustee of the Wheeler Presbyterian Church. 2 years later, he was ordained an elder of the church. The church pastor, the Reverend Henry P. Strong, wrote on his behalf to the American Board of Commissioners for Foreign Missions to secure an appointment for Marcus to be a missionary doctor in the West. 1835, Whitman traveled with the missionary Samuel Parker, shown here, to portions of the Oregon Territory, also shown in the maps, more specifically to present-day northwestern Montana and northern Idaho. They were to minister to the bands of the Flathead and the Nez Perce tribes. On that journey, they went to the annual rendezvous of mountain men and trappers that was held on the Green River. Dr. Whitman treated several fur trappers during an outbreak of cholera. A famous scout by the name of Jim Bridger was given medical treatment by Dr. Whitman. Dr. Whitman removed a 3-inch iron arrow point from Bridger's back. That arrow point had been in Bridger's back for 3 years. Bridger had gotten that arrow point in his back in a battle with the Blackfeet Indians 3 years prior. You can imagine how Dr. Whitman was well received by all the mountain men and trappers at this annual rendezvous. In 1836, Dr. Whitman set up a mission station among the Cayuse Indians. The location of that mission is shown on this map as the red dot. On his return trip east, Dr. Whitman was accompanied by 2 Nez Perce boys whom he renamed Richard and John. Whitman also wrote a report to the Board of Foreign Missions, stating his firm belief that women were able to make the cross-country journey to become missionaries in the Oregon Territory. Whitman's belief that women could make such a cross-country journey to become a missionary in Oregon is very significant because Marcus was set to marry Narcissa Prentice. They married on February 18, 1836, and they would spend the rest of their lives in this Oregon Territory. They had 1 child, a daughter named Clarissa. Clarissa is the first Anglo-American child born in the Oregon country. Unfortunately, Clarissa drowned in the Walla Walla River at the age of 2. On May 25, 1836, Marcus and Narcissa Whitman joined a group of other missionaries with a caravan of fur traders and traveled west. They arrived at the Mountain Fur Traders' annual rendezvous on July the 6th. Going on, the missionaries established several missions. Whitman's missionary settlement was at the Cayuse settlement called Wyattlepu, which is about 6 miles west of present-day Walla Walla, Washington. The Whitman's mission settlement became a well-known way stop on the Oregon Trail. The Whitmans, however, were not very successful as missionaries in converting the Cayuse Indians. The Cayuse were very suspicious of the large numbers of whites flooding into the area. With the Whitman's mission settlement known as a well-known way stop on the Oregon Trail, and the Whitmans not being very successful as missionaries in converting the Cayuse, the Board of Missions voted to close the Whitman mission. Marcus Whitman, however, to stop this, journeyed east to convince the board to change its mind. On his return trip back to his mission in 1843, Marcus Whitman guided a wagon train of 1,000 pioneers up the Oregon Trail. The Cayuse continued to be very suspicious of the large numbers of whites flooding into the area. This suspicion of the Cayuse reached a breaking point in 1847, when there was a measles epidemic that within a matter of months killed half the Cayuse tribe. Marcus Whitman, as a doctor, was considered to be a Tiwat, or medicine man to the Cayuse people. His medicines, however, did not work in this measles epidemic. It was the Cayuse tradition that if the patient died after being treated by a medicine man, the family of the patient had the right to kill the medicine man. On November 29, 1847, there was the so-called Whitman Massacre. 11 Cayuse killed Marcus and Narcissa Whitman and several other whites at the mission. The whole Cayuse tribe was held responsible until 1850, when 5 Cayuse were turned over to the authorities in Oregon City and hanged for the crime of killing the Whitmans. Marcus Whitman was killed tragically, but he left an important legacy. He was the first graduate doctor of an American medical school to practice medicine west of the Rocky Mountains. He and his wife Narcissa established the first American home on the Pacific Coast. They were the parents of the first American white child born west of the Rocky Mountains. Marcus Whitman brought the first wagon over the Rocky Mountains. Whitman College was established in the community of Walla Walla, Washington, where the Whitmans had their mission. There is the Whitman Glacier on Mount Rainier in the state of Washington. The state of Washington celebrates the 4th day of September as Marcus Whitman Day. The statue of Marcus Whitman's, the state of Washington saw the importance of Marcus Whitman to their heritage by choosing a statue of him to be one of 2 Washington state people to be honored with a statue in the National Statuary Hall collection in the U.S. Capitol in Washington, D.C. This historic marker in Rushville, the place of his birth. We must not overlook the proper historical fame of Marcus Whitman's wife, Narcissa. Shown here is a historic marker in the state of Nebraska, telling about Narcissa's role in the Oregon Trail. The Central School District for the area of Gorham, Rushville, and Middlesex is named the Marcus Whitman School District in his honor. Marcus Whitman is an important person with clear Finger Lakes roots. I hope that you have enjoyed this initial segment of famous people with Finger Lakes roots, which is part of our Finger Lakes history.